So it has indeed been very enriching and enlightening for the last 2 days, with a lot of information, opinion, and viewpoints being exchanged. But all good things do come to an end, and so does this workshop. And to wrap it up, I'd like to invite Mr. Abhishek Agarwal, advisor with NITI Aayog, to come on stage and share a few words with us. A round of applause for Mr. Agarwal.
Thank you. So I've been asked to do sort of a wrap-up here. And I'll start with appreciating the very well-organized workshop conference that we have here. It had very, very clear targets, first of all, I must say that. And what I understand is that about 60 to 70 experts were physically present over the past 2 days. And we, what I'm also told is roughly around 220 or 250 people have joined online, which is a huge number considering that it was done at a substantially short notice. One extremely important aspect that I realized, the feedback that I've been getting is I've been getting more than 50 to 60 messages since yesterday evening and till today lunch, and everyone has been appreciating certain sections. They have been giving their feedback in WhatsApp messages and things like that to me. So we are going to incorporate many of those. I'll be sharing them during the documentation of the workshop as well. So, and the most important part is that we embarked on a journey about 2.5, 3 years ago with FCDO, jointly working towards a framework for a faster adoption of BIM in India. And it's extremely heartening that this workshop reaffirms that the approach that we had been taking for the past 2 years is in the correct direction. We have been all moving in the right direction. One aspect that I like to highlight is that we focus this particular workshop on capacities. Now, there have been many questions which are asking, why are we not talking about technology? Why are we not talking about softwares? Why are we not talking about security and many other aspects of BIM? So let me just clarify, because we are still being live streamed. We are engaging with the software companies. We are engaging on the technical aspects, technology aspects, and all those aspects. But as we have time and again seen in the last 2 days, and somebody aptly mentioned, I think Mr. Mandar mentioned, tool set, skill set, and mindset. It was also mentioned by Adam that tech and software systems are extremely important, but change management is something that we really need to focus upon. Change management in the government system, change management in the private sector, organizations, as well as individuals. So that was the basic thought process, that we thought that this is something, capacities is something that we want to discuss. We don't want to focus on other aspects right now. There have been many forums, many interactions on those aspects as well. Now, over the past 2 days, we have seen a lot of initiatives which have come a long way. NCRTC, PWD, metros, many private sector experiences. I must say that every time I see their presentations, there is something new which has been added there. So it's not like they are not evolving themselves. With each passing day, our existing lighthouse organizations are also evolving day by day. One aspect that everyone has been requesting for the past 2 days and for some more time now is, we need a mandate, a government mandate. Well, we have been thinking about it, and it was aptly mentioned during Adam's presentation again. A mandate is not something you can just enforce on people. And we are of the same opinion that a mandate cannot be thrust upon you. So we are actually working on a way to get people's buy-in, organizations buy-in. What we are expecting is that the lighthouse projects, the lighthouse organizations that are there, they are going to be the flag bearers, torch bearers of this whole concept, and it's going to percolate down to other ministries and other organizations as well. giving a mandate on immediate basis has some very specific challenges. The first and foremost being, we are still developing the standards and specifications benchmarks. We just saw a presentation from BIS. We are still 6 months away from getting the first set of standards sort of in a wide circulation or something. Even then, people will be free to use their choice of standards. What we have seen is NCRTC, Metro, CPWD, all of them are using some different sort of standards, some different sort of guidelines for their relevant organizations, which is partially correct. We are not saying that it's not supposed to be done, but some sort of standardization in terms of interoperability, in terms of different softwares talking to each other, different processes talking to each other still needs to be set. Until unless we are not having those aspects addressed, pushing in a mandate, making it compulsory for everyone will make it a free for all, and we might end up with a mess which would be much more difficult to sort it out. So we can probably wait for another 6 months, 8 months to have these standards, at least some basic form of recommendations in place before we come up with a very strong mandate for the leading infrastructures agencies in India. The next one, the capacities probably in terms of human resources are not exactly a challenge, that we have all sort of agreed that India probably in certain cases is doing 30%, 70% of the global work. We have adequate capacity in terms of BIM modeling and production in India. It still needs to be ramped up considering the kind of projects that are there in pipeline. But we cannot say that we cannot adopt BIM because human resources are not available. Probably what we all agree is that government and the client needs to be more smart and intelligent in asking the requirements from the consultants, the clients, the vendors, the contractors, and all the other stakeholders and players. At that same time, we also need to be careful about data tsunamis and the garbage in, garbage out aspect of BIM. So we have to be ready with these two issues also. One point that came up during the discussions, not during the panel, but other discussions was basically that should we really target LOD 500 kind of things for all the project? Probably not. The smartness will come in defining what exactly you desire from your particular project, your particular information model. Maybe LOD 500 is extremely good for an aircraft or an automobile. Maybe not for this room that we are sitting here. Maybe we are fine enough with LOD 500, 300, 350, 400. I'm not the expert, but probably something of that sort might be there. Another point that came up is more than a mandate, it's up to the organizations, as in the likes of NCRTCs, the organizations who are actually the implementation agencies, who will play the most important role in taking up BIM. Because as government, as a ministry, we can have a broader mandate, maybe digitalization, broad word that you have to accept BIM, maybe some sort of standard documents, RFPs, contract documents. But eventually it will be up to the organization to set up its entire structure wherein the top person to the bottommost person is working only on the BIM system itself. They are not going to print it out, do it all in hard copy and then put it all over again, which might be the case in many organizations right now. So what that means is that employers' information requirements is something which needs to be focused on. Probably these organizations that we are targeting, implementing agencies, we need to help them establish their EIRs, BIM execution plans from project levels, program levels to organization levels. A clear roadmap for those organizations. This is something where I believe multilaterals, bilaterals, academia, civil society, all of them will need to support individual agencies, organizations in bringing up their organizational level strategies for adopting BIM. Then, you already said that NCRTC, Metro, CPWD, we look forward to you sharing your platforms with other ministries, industries, I won't say industry probably, but yeah, definitely ministries, states, ULBs, so that they can also be onboarded onto similar platforms, fast tracking their adoption of BIM. We will also need to look at mid-career professionals, especially in the ministries and in private sector as well. How we can improve their capacities. What we understand is that the technology, the processes are changing rapidly. So the mid-career professionals will need to have there needs to be an ecosystem which is strongly supporting their capacity building requirements on ongoing basis. So it's not just that each organization or each company is having their own capacity building program. Probably some certification centers, academia, institutes like CEPT, IITs, NICMAR are going to play a major role in having these mid-career programs as well. Champions of change, it has come up again and again, not just in government, but also in private sector, academia, and every single place. Champions of change, this is something that we'll need to identify, so find some way of incentivizing them and taking up those kind of roles. I believe we have a role as NITI also to play here. NITI and DA probably will have to sit together, work out the model RFPs, contracts, documents, see how BIM can be incorporated, what sort of thresholds for each sector project, each ministry can be worked out, sit with the ministry, work out their strategies, things like that. So we do take note of that particular aspect. In addition to that, there were some aspects which were related to BIM enabling environment. So what we are told is that the entire BIM enabling environment needs to come up. The whole supply chain needs also to be understood for ensuring that the BIM mandate is going there. Again, the first movers like NCRTC, Metro, CPWD will have to ensure that the kind of market studies that you have undertaken while establishing your systems, the kind of information you have generated while establishing your systems, they are put up on knowledge portals so that we can understand the overall ecosystem. We can share that information with other people who want to establish or adopt BIM or adapt BIM, and cross collaborations between ministries and ministries, ministries and private sector, academia, civil society, academia, civil society, each of one has to cross collaborate. So those aspects are addressed. One extremely important aspect which came up was disaster resilience. And we all agreed that BIM is going to play a major role. And not just in construction, especially in the operations and maintenance phase. One clear distinction, brilliant aspect came up was resilient infrastructure versus infrastructure resilience. Now this is generally misunderstood in Indian context. So I'm very thankful to CDRI for highlighting the difference between these two aspects. And I foresee a particular sort of collaboration that can be explored between Gati Shakti, which is primarily talking about infrastructure resilience, and BIM, which is going to support resilient infrastructure. So this is a place where I believe that the two common data environments can come together and we can work on this particular aspect. We have also seen, which in one of my presentations only I said that BIM helps us conserve the information. And today's panels, both the panels, they highlighted the fact that the data that gets generated can actually be analyzed, and much more efficient ways of making decisions can be brought in. We were talking about cases wherein something has to be built in Chennai, whether it is fine to bring material from say Germany or Gujarat or some other place in India. All of this information you need data, and for that data BIM, Gati Shakti and these kind of systems, can play a major role. So we'll need to look at building a stack for all these information coming together as well. Some interesting figures came in that $240 billion have gone into the building construction sector. What surprised me particularly was India consumes 37% of building energy consumption as compared to the global figure of some 30%. So we are probably going to focus on reducing energy consumption in buildings also in coming days. And again, BIM is going to play an extremely important role because it's understood that the building consumption and building stock is going to grow by 8 times and 4 times respectively. So we are looking at some really, really huge numbers here. And India's target of net zero, BIM most likely is going to play an extremely important role. And we need to sensitize all the agencies, departments, companies for this particular aspect. What this means is that we also have to bring in a paradigm shift. What the discussions have indicated is that probably when we look at BIM, traditionally we have been talking about 3D, maybe 4D, 5D aspects also. What we tend to forget is that the manufacturing sector has been digitalized for a long time. They have traceability of products right from the start of the life to the end of the life. Construction sector by itself is categorized as an industry. In fact, I was having this discussion yesterday evening after the conference with my CEO, and he was very much interested because construction industry is accounting for 8% to 9% of our GDP. So if we start looking at construction industry not just from building perspective but as a product perspective, would that bring a paradigm shift in the approach that we have taken towards BIM? This is something probably that we can start exploring. In this particular aspect, I have had discussions with the academia here. Probably will need your support in taking up small researches wherein the existing projects, whether they are government projects or they are private sector projects, they are looked into wherein BIM has not been implemented or maybe BIM has been implemented. Create scenarios because you will be doing research. So you are in a position to create multiple scenarios. What if BIM was not there? What if BIM was there to a certain extent? What if BIM was there to this XYZ extent? And what is the kind of benefit that we can derive out of it? And the kind of information that we will need to capture, the kind of information data that will be generated. Now, these kind of demonstrative projects can be fed back into the ministries, private sector, for making their EIRs, their BEPs. And last but not the least, multilaterals, bilaterals and civil society. You will have to play a major role here in hand-holding all the other players through this entire process. Now, whether it is using similar more number of events, one-to-one interactions with your counterparts, the people you know, your networks, or is it something as direct as we were discussing, exposure visits to international experiences, international examples, or Indian examples itself. So that is something that we look forward from all of you. All in all, one aspect seems to be extremely clear. We need not wait for perfection of the system or a particular model or a particular design. We can start as of now. What probably we need to do is, we need to become adept at adopting and adapting BIM. With that, I'll close my concluding remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Agarwal, for your views on the way forward for application of intelligent solutions such as BIM in the infrastructure industry of India.